out here to the garden because I am making zuppa toscana for supper and I need kale. So somewhere under here is my kale. I'm gonna get some for soup tonight. Here's some of my kale, and even though it got down to 23 degrees, it did have this row cover on it, and we have some kale we can have for supper. I would say that was a successful picking, and I didn't even take all that we could have, so we will make that into supper tonight. Another thing that I'm picking in the garden is asparagus, and we're getting a lot this year, the most we've ever had, so that is really exciting. Some of these thin. We don't pick those. There's a smaller plant here. We're gonna let this one grow. This end is our newer end of the patch. Down there further has been here probably 12 years now, and it does really, really well. So there's our asparagus. Definitely a meal's worth. My project this morning is to start these sweet potato slips to rooting. And so you can see what I've done here. I've taken my sweet potatoes from last year, the ones that were still nice and firm and big and looked great in the basement, and I put them in some soil and watered them, and then I set this container, I mean this is just a kid's toy container, I mean anything will work, and I set it on a heating mat so that it would stay warm. And then over the last few weeks they have grown. They've grown a lot. I actually have 2 containers. I have tons of sweet potato slips. So now the job is to cut off each one of these starts and put them in little jars of water, and in a few days, weeks, I don't know, this is my first time doing this, but I'm confident it'll be just fine, and they will grow roots. And then come June probably I'll plant them in the garden. Sweet potatoes do not like cold at all, so it needs to be reliably warm before I plant them out. You can see the root nodes on these stems. They're bumpy, so they are ready to root and grow. Today I am starting a lot of my summer plants. So watermelon, squash, I'm throwing in some extra tomato and pepper seeds just in case, like last year mine didn't do well. Hopefully I won't have to plant them. Let's see, I'm starting some cucumbers. Yeah, mostly squash and watermelon though. These will grow inside for 2-3 weeks and then they'll get transplanted out when the weather's warmer. We're over here at our garden and we're working here, so we're building another row. Fills in this gap between the two beds that I did have, so I won't have to worry about mowing in here. We'll just have another row there, and then we're getting some of those weeds out of there because we're hoping to plant in the next couple of days. Tonight's our last night. That's supposed to be in the 30s, then our lows are in the 50s, so good time to get the summer garden planted. So it's a little bit breezy today, but we're back over here to try to finish building out this garden plot. We added a row to each side, and I'd really like to add 2 more to this side. And in the process, we're going through all those weeds over there, and there was a bunch of trash and tin and some boards and sticks, and I couldn't mow close up to that building last year. Well, what was a building at one point in time. And so we're trying to get all cleared out so that this year I'll be able to mow up really close and we won't get that crazy mess of weeds like we have the last few years. So that's our project today. Okay, so we got our new row on that side of this bed mulched, and we really need a break from mulching, so these are going to wait for now. They might wait till tomorrow, but I really want to get some plants in the ground very soon. I have potatoes in here already, so we really need to get an irrigation system set up, and that'll give our arms a break from the mulching. So that's what we're going to work on now. Okay, we got the irrigation set up, and we included plenty of header hose in case I add another 2, maybe even 3 rows here once we get that cleaned up. These we don't have their drip tape running off of yet because we've still got to mulch them, but we have the header hose ready to go. And these we have hooked up and turned on so they can water overnight. And I already see a problem we're going to have to fix, but hopefully we get them good and wet so that I can come over here and plant tomatoes and peppers tomorrow. That is the goal. Let's see what's going on with this one. Looks like it has a hole. Yeah, I think what we'll do is we'll just shorten it a little bit because it's close enough here to the end and I won't have to put a connector in it. Yeah, because that's not going to work. We're going to fix that. So today is a big planting day for me. Yesterday I transplanted out the celery. Some of them don't look very healthy. I had house guests and I neglected to open my cold frame and they dried out and got a little hot. So some of them look pretty healthy, some of them don't. But I imagine here in a month or so, most of them will look pretty good. And today I am going to plant some bean seeds to go over my trellises here, and these are dry beans. I grow my green beans as bush beans, and so I have 3 trellises here, and I have 3 different seeds that I want to plant. I'm also going to be planting some squash. So here I have flambeau, which are pink, variegated color. I have Good Mother Stallard, and I have these 1500-year-old cave beans. So I've actually never grown dry beans before, so this is a first, and I thought these were pretty, so this is what I'm going to be planting. They're so pretty. I do want to plant more dry beans in this bed here along the fence line. However, the chickens have had their way with it over the winter, and so it needs some work, some repairs, some fresh compost, maybe some fresh mulch. So I'll have to work on that bed before I can plant the beans, but at least I've got some of my beans in the ground. So this area of my weed barrier garden, I was going to plant all peas in here, but I didn't want to burn a whole bunch of new fresh holes for the peas in this part of the garden. 3/4 of this garden is peas, so I decided to save this last quarter to put some extra squash in here. So I think I can fit 3 rows of squash, keeping them pretty well spaced apart in this area, and I have quite a few different varieties of squash that I'm going to plant this year. These plants have been hardening off in the cold frame for long enough now, so we are going to get them planted out, some of them planted out today. So let's get that done. So in this bed, I planted beets, basil, holy basil, and parsley. And then of course on the ends I have my dry beans that are going to go over the trellises. So looking forward to seeing this bed develop. So my 4 raised beds that I have here irrigated at home, I have my spinach that overwintered. I have the bed I just planted. Next one has celery, and the last one has spring onions. So I'm really happy to have these on this nice irrigation system because a lot of these plants do not like to dry out. So I'm going to start watering them right now. Okay, we're back to my weed barrier garden where I have my peas planted. And I have, last year I had lettuce and marigolds and tomatoes. So my peas are where my lettuce and marigolds were. And then I have these big holes where my tomatoes were. And so I'm going to take those big holes and I'm going to put marigolds and romaine lettuce in here. And so the marigold should hopefully keep the aphids away. It certainly worked last year. We'll see if it works again. And I also have those rows over there with the same thing. So we'll be filling this up with marigolds and lettuce, romaine lettuce. So today we got about half of my tomatoes planted, and they are in these rows, and then we put this cover on them to protect from wind and also to help them stay plenty warm in there, because tomatoes like it warm, and we're still getting down to like 48, 49 degrees at night. So I just think this will help them grow and establish well, plus protect them from our crazy winds that we get and hopefully any storms that might maybe come our way. We also got some zucchini seeds in the ground, and we've got lots more to plant here. But that was a start, and we put a few other seeds, beets and radishes, in the ground over here. Okay, we're back over here again today. It's Friday, May 5th, and we are going to plant some more tomatoes. They were started later than the ones we planted yesterday, and we're also going to plant our peppers. Now we're getting ready to plant one of our last rows in this garden, and this will be green beans. So we just picked these bowls of lettuce, kale, spinach, and Swiss chard. Perfect. Thank you for picking that.
I'll go and feed them.
So we have harvested some of these, but the spinach, it was just such a delight to pull back this cover and see how full and lush this row looked. It was absolutely delightful. When this time of year you're putting so much in the ground and things are struggling because of the weather, it is very exciting to see what you've got. Now, so you can see these 3 and 4 I harvested, and I have that much more of this kind that has not been harvested. Same in here, I've harvested about 2 or 3 of each kind. So there is a lot more to be had of the lettuce, lots of lettuce. Then we have the Swiss chard, which works good in smoothies and salads. It's kind of like a spinach, and then the stem can be used like asparagus to be cooked in stir fries and stuff. Then we have our kale, and my daughter picked this because my kids want to have kale chips for supper tonight. So we have a bunch of kale, and it looks really good, and we'll just keep, kale should produce the whole season. And there's my dinosaur kale, and I have planted marigolds in here just as of today because marigolds seem to deter aphids, and last year I had aphids get on some of my kale, not all of it, but some of it, and so I'm hoping that will protect this kale, especially since it looks so good. opening day at the farm stand. I have salad greens, kale, Swiss chard, spinach, and leaf lettuce. $3 per bag. Come on over if you want some fresh salad greens.